Well, hi.
I was like, who's gonna say
Everybody's looking at each other like, who's going to say hi?
Well, hello.
Hi, everyone.
See, I told you I fixed it.
Oh, you did?
You did.
Yay.
No more boobs.
Now we get both of them instead of just one.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Move, dude.
It's funny because I think Carly and I have almost the same hairdo.
Almost. I did get a
Pretty
haircut,
close.
so I thought I would, get
Isn't
the
this
emoji up to date.
Your emoji hair is different.
Yeah, I
It
was
looks
about to
very
say.
nice, Grace.
Finally got it chopped off a little.
Are we all wearing glasses? Awesome.
Yes.
just can't really see Carly's.
No.
Does she have hers on?
Yeah,
she
they're the
does.
clear
They
ones.
are. Okay. All right.
Oh,
And my
nice,
real ones
so
are
nice.
like the silver color cream.
Yay.
Nice. I got a car alarm going off outside.
I can't hear it.
Okay, good.
I can't either.
No.
So how's
Hey, Sean.
everybody? Hey, April, Mousy,
Juju, Sean
yeah,
just got
Juju,
here.
Sean. Always usually say always Creatful, but you're up here. So
Panel.
I'm up here.
Yay. Fish Nerd is here.
Almost Friday.
It is almost.
Yes.
I'm so glad. I am so glad. Why do I think I have longer hair than you guys? I can tell
I
you
don't
probably
know.
have hair longer than me because my hair's not very long.
Oh, mine's pretty long. I need to get it like trimmed or cut. It's down to, I want to say it's down to my tailbone.
That would drive me absolutely crazy.
That's why I always have it braided. I just
Yeah.
braid it either in one braid or two braids, or have it up in a bun.
Yeah.
I almost never wear mine down.
Yeah, I can't. Mine's too thick.
Mine's too
I wish
thin.
I had that problem.
Right?
Yeah, I have fine, thin hair.
Me too.
I have thick hair.
Yeah, it's like mine's way too thick.
Ponytail holder. One time.
Yeah. Oh my!
I can't even double it.
No.
Oh yay, Mousy! Are you on your phone, Mousy? Mousy's having pewter problems.
Pewters.
Pewters.
Yep.
Hopefully my internet doesn't go wonky. We're supposed to get some rain.
Oh my god! What is up with this weather?
It's been crazy.
It's rained so much this month because, you know, the saying April showers bring the, like, it's been the opposite. We barely got any rain last month, and it's rained almost all month off and on.
May showers bring June mosquitoes. That don't matter.
Yes.
That don't rhyme, but
Hills and moss. Ugh.
Oh, goodness.
Anthills everywhere.
I don't say that. Do you have fire ants in Colorado? Or does it get cold enough to kill them off in the winter?
Well, where I'm at, I don't see them, but some areas like, I don't know what to call them, but yeah, you can sometimes find them in areas that aren't near me. But yeah, we get the regular ants though, pretty bad.
Oh, those fire! You're lucky you don't get fire ants. Oy, oy, oy.
We've been getting really tiny ants lately. Like, what the heck are they?
My son's friend, the people you know about, they have one or two fire ant hills in their front yard.
Oh, they do?
Yep. Oh. And they're like 15 minutes away from me. But we don't get any where I'm at. Thank goodness. That's my husband's like nightmare. It's ants in general, but especially the fire ants.
Yeah. They're nasty little buggers.
Uh-huh.
They are.
We got a flat tire on our way back from Dallas one day, and I just wasn't even thinking anything other than fix the flat tire, and I stepped, we were on the side of the road, obviously side of the highway, and like I said, wasn't thinking, was looking where I was stepping, and I stepped right into a fire ant mound.
No.
Yeah, I had tennis shoes on, so they didn't get my foot. They got right around my ankle and up, a little bit up under my leg. It's like, oh dear God.
I stepped in a regular anthill last summer with flip-flops on. Which better than fire ants, but still I was like, oh God, no.
Yeah.
I remember one time we went camping and I think we're eating lunch before we left or something. And my mom went and took a drink of her Pepsi and swallowed an ant or two.
Ew.
And she was like, I was just like, you should know how it goes when camping. Like,
cover it up.
Yeah. She was mad because we're all laughing. She's like, I'm about to just leave you guys here. Find your own way home.
Yeah. Good part about having kids is when they get to make fun of you.
Yeah. Like my son, like just the other day, you got a pimple by your nose. Like, yeah, I know.
Oh, and those are the ones that hurt too.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. He's like, how'd that happen? Do you not wash your face?
Oh my gosh.
Just wait, kid. Just wait.
Wait until you hit puberty, and then you'll be talking.
He's gonna come a knocking.
Oh, I'm gonna be. Look what you got right there.
You know,
you wash your face.
Mousy said roast beast.
What?
She said roast beast.
Rose,
and of course,
her
roast beast. Yeah, and of course that caught my attention.
Oh, well, yeah, because I think of hose beast.
I like roast beast, like in The Grinch.
Yeah.
Like, what? Not Christmas.
They're talking about roses. And Fisher is trying to kill Sean's roses.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Roses are
Oh,
not
my
easy
goodness.
to grow.
I wouldn't know. I don't even try to grow things. I can't even do house plants. So
My husband
I
has
can kill a plastic plant.
yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Yeah, my parents live down the street from their landlord, and they have rose bushes. My parents have rose bushes in their yard, and every time, like, one will come over or something, and landlord's just clipping the flowers, the roses, taking them. Like, okay, like, I understand you own the place, but can you leave some for us?
Yeah.
You'd think, but no.
Yeah. So on today's topic,
Yeah.
Start it
Yeah.
off a little light before it gets heavy.
Yes.
Hopefully everybody's doing all right on a Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And we're
Are
we're glad you're here. We're so glad you're here.
Yes.
Yes,
And
thank
we're
you for joining us. And thank you for joining us. Always grateful.
yeah.
And for
thank you
telling your
guys for
story.
doing this and for having me. It's truly an honor.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
Well, anytime.
Yeah.
You can come up and be silly with us, and you can come up when you want to talk about serious things.
Yeah. We're a pretty open panel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't see Claire in here unless she's hiding.
Well, because we are going to have to. If Claire comes in, I'm just warning you.
It's her.
Yeah.
Just warning you. Your ears will bleed. I'm just warning you now. So.
Oh no.
You might want to get that finger close to your mute button. So.
Earplugs.
She's in the bush. Claire, if you're in the bushes, that's a wise decision. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So.
What are you doing? You're probably ordering pizza on my phone. What are you doing? Oh, he's going to another live stream. That's what he did. Okay.
Oh no.
Thanks, buddy. Well, you can go watch Storm Chasing later. Okay.
He's telling you this is what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
Get off the computer.
Yeah. Sit down. All righty. Well, take it away, Kim.
Okay. This month is Brain Cancer Awareness or Brain Tumor Awareness Month. And everyone probably knows that the brain is known as gray matter. So when they figured out a month to do brain tumor awareness, they decided on May, and they decided on the slogan, "Go Gray for May, because the gray matters." So it's kind of cute.
That is.
Brings a little more awareness to it.
Yeah, and it makes it to where people can understand what it means too.
Yeah.
Exactly. One thing I want to do is start out with a quote. And this is actually from a mom in the UK. And she's all over social media, so I'm sure she won't mind me sharing her name. Her name is Natal. And this past Monday, she lost her daughter, Laura, to glioblastoma after a 4.5-year battle. And I saw a quote from her on Twitter that says, "Hope is the hardest thing to kill." And that's so true, even in our everyday life. We always want that hope, and hope is very hard to kill. I'm going to throw out some numbers first, give you some of the facts. And the numbers, when I was looking things up, astounded me. I was just, picking my chin up off the floor every time I was seeing a new number. But that's the way it should be. We should be shocked. So these are all approximations, so I don't have to say approximately every single time. And they get these numbers by going through the National Tumor Registry and using data from previous years to predict what the current year may be like. So right now, there are about 120 types of both malignant and non-malignant brain tumors.
Oh,
Wow.
In America, there are 700,000 people living with a primary brain tumor. And a primary brain tumor is one that originates in the brain. It did not metastasize from another part of the body. In 2023, 94,390 Americans will receive a primary brain tumor diagnosis.
That's scary.
There will be 79,340 Americans over the age of 40 that will be diagnosed with a primary brain tumor in 2023. 18,990 Americans will die from a malignant brain tumor in 2023. More than 4,000 children are diagnosed with a brain tumor each year. Malignant are more common in males, non-malignant more common in females. And that's from through all ages. Brain tumors are second most common cancers in children, second only to leukemia. But brain tumors cause more deaths in children. In the UK, there are 33 people diagnosed with a primary brain tumor every day. This includes 500 children and young adults every year. 88,000 people in the UK are currently living with a brain tumor. In the UK, for £20 a month, that can provide 2 days of research every year. For all patients with a malignant brain tumor, there's a 35.7% relative survival rate, and nearly 1/3 of brain and central nervous system tumors are malignant. And even though these numbers are kind of astounding, a brain tumor is still considered rare. Only 1% of all the population is diagnosed with a brain tumor. The most common primary brain tumor types in adults are meningiomas, and 85 to 90% of those are classified as benign, and then glioblastomas. A glioblastoma is always considered malignant, and so I'm not having to say glioblastoma. It's glioblastoma multiforme, otherwise known as GBM. So you'll probably hear me referring to GBM quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a big word. I was like thinking that. I was like, that is such a. I was like, maybe we're just gonna have to do GBM.
Yeah, most of the brain tumors are really long.
Yeah, I was like, look, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't even know if I'm reading this right.
I had to do one yesterday that I'd never heard of, and I was like, I couldn't say it. I couldn't type it without looking every time.
I know. GBM accounts for 47.7% of all cases of malignant brain and other central nervous system tumors. It's also the most aggressive and fatal. The 5-year survival rate is 6.9%. The median survival rate is 8 months. GBM is more common in people ages 50 to 70. It is more prevalent in men than women. It's also more prevalent in Caucasians and people of European and Mediterranean descent. Senator Ted Kennedy, Senator John McCain, Beau Biden, comedian Tim Conway, and the drummer from the band Rush, Neil Peart, all died from glioblastomas. And there's a whole wiki page I found of people from all walks of life that are notables that have had some form of either a benign or a malignant brain tumor. And it's just like pages and pages and pages. It was crazy. You have any questions so far?
It's a lot to, like, when I was, going through reading to kind of, try to, oh, I know Claire's in here too, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
we can take a bit of a pause, but always
Yes.
grateful, breathe for a second.
Hey.
So you can go ahead. Yeah, you can go. I don't.
Well, I'm not doing this alone.
Well, I can't. I don't do birthdays. So Carly and
Oh, you're
Kim,
right.
So
Okay.
I can just be here.
All right.
Claire knows I love her.
For those who need to get their fingers ready, I warned you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Madame Otter. Happy birthday to you.
And I guess you were the only one singing.
Very good.
Madame Otter.
Okay.
I'm like, Claire,
Happy birthday, Claire.
Happy birthday, Claire. Okay, Sean has a question.
It looks like Juju did answer, but yes, Juju is correct.
Yes, malignant does mean that it's cancerous. So benign or non-malignant is non-cancerous. The thing with brain tumors, they also have specific symptoms that go with them. But as I read off these symptoms, you're going to think, well, that could be, and you're right, they're the same symptoms as a stroke or several other conditions.
Yeah.
So some of the symptoms of a brain tumor are a headache that's persistent, meaning it lasts more than 2 days with medication, either over the counter or prescription like Imitrex or Nurtec. Sudden seizures or convulsions when there's no history of seizure activity. Difficulty thinking, speaking, or even just finding your words. Of personality or behavior changes. Weakness, paralysis, numbness in one part or one side of the body. A loss of balance, dizziness, or unsteadiness. A loss of hearing. An inability to swallow. And vision changes. So all of those could also be symptoms of a stroke. And that's why so often brain tumors go misdiagnosed or undiagnosed. Because we have a saying in the medical field, when you hear hoofbeats, don't go looking for the zebra, look for the horses, look for the obvious. Well, in this case, we need to find that zebra. That's what we need to be looking for. Out of all of the donations that go towards cancer research in general, approximately only 1% go towards brain tumors. And so that's a very small amount. The American Brain Tumor Association, which is really a very great organization, they've got a great website. It has tons of information if anyone wants to learn anything else about brain tumors. It was actually founded by 2 mothers who were affected with children with brain tumors. They founded this in 1973, and they have been able to fund more than $34 million in research money. They do some great things over there, and they're donating a lot of the money to neurosurgeon fellows and residents so that they can go out there and do more research and find new treatments. There's currently research being done worldwide, but we do still need more. And this, unfortunately, it comes with funding.
Yeah.
With GBM, glioblastoma multiforme, we've learned a lot through some of the research, and we found out a lot about how that particular tumor reacts. And the reason I'm speaking more about this one than like a meningioma or an astrocytoma, something like that, is that it's the most aggressive and the most fatal. And it's also affected me personally. So I have a greater interest in glioblastomas. But through the research, we've learned so much about the tumor. And I guess first, let me describe the tumor to you. It's called, again, a glioblastoma multiforme. And if you think of an octopus, the head and body of the octopus, that's the main part of the tumor. And then you have the little octopus tentacles, and that's what is creating the multiforme with a glioblastoma. It shoots out these little feeder arms into the healthy brain tissue. So it's impossible to get 100% of the tumor.
That was just going to be my question.
Yeah, and Sean does ask, does it show up in blood work?
No, it does not.
Any type of brain tumors do not show up in blood work.
It does not show up in any blood work. The only way you can find a brain tumor is through like a CT scan, an MRI, or a PET scan, a PET. And that's the only way you can find it.
So there's no, well, besides of the symptoms you're going over, there's really no other way to know unless, like you said, like
right.
No
and
other
even
heads
with
up.
those symptoms, if they're trying to rule out between stroke and a brain tumor, even on a scan, we can see changes in a brain on a scan with a stroke. So that's why it's a good idea. If someone has one or two of these symptoms, their doctor needs to immediately send them for some type of scan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how the tumor works, is by feeding out these little arms into the different parts of the brain. Most of the time, it's in the frontal lobe of the brain is where it's located, or it's in the temporal or the parietal lobes. Through the research, we've also learned that glioblastomas can mutate over time. They can make themselves more resistant to treatment. They can change cellular structure. But they all have one thing in common. They all have molecular markers. And the markers are really important in research because once they get that in pathology and they can identify those markers, then we have a better idea of how to treat it, what drugs may work better on it.
Because radiation and chemotherapy
Right.
doesn't do anything.
Right. And sometimes the markers will also let us know that this could be something due to an underlying condition that the patient has. There are some underlying syndromes that make brain tumors more prevalent. And there's also hereditary factors tied into some brain tumors. And glioblastoma is one of those. So that way, if it does show up as having a hereditary factor, you know, to get people tested, get them checked yearly at least. GGB, a molecular marker, is something that's found within the cell of the tumor. It's almost like DNA for that tumor. It's what makes that tumor specific. And the thing with glioblastomas is none of them are the same. They all show up with different markers.
That is just like really crazy as far as like usually like with certain cancers, it's like similar to where you can figure out how to treat it. But if they're all changing like that, then how can we really try to find a way to treat it with research?
Yeah, it's that's what makes it so hard, and it also makes it extremely frustrating. um, we know with just about any type of condition or syndrome, early diagnosis is critical. You know, we know women over a certain age need to have that yearly mammogram. You reach another age, you need to have your yearly colonoscopy. I'm now kind of at an age, and with my family history of Alzheimer's on my mother's side, every time I go to my doctor, they do a memory test on me. We need to figure out some way. I mean, if the doctor would just ask about these symptoms every single time, then I feel like we could find these tumors a lot faster. Um, so with glioblastoma, early detection is pivotal because it
Can
can allow
can
the
I
doctors to treat tumors without surgery.
can I ask if with this people who have family histories in particular, are insurance companies apt to approve MRIs and CT scans on a yearly or bi-yearly basis for when you get to a certain age with those kind of patients to look?
You know, it really, I don't have an answer for that, unfortunately. I would think if you've got a really strong family history of it, they would be more likely to. Because I know with some patients, if you've got a history of a person younger in age having like colon cancer,
Yeah.
the insurance companies are more likely to pay for a colonoscopy earlier than what's usually recommended.
Right. Okay, I was
And,
just
you
curious
know,
about that.
yeah, it's something that there's so much that I've been learning the past few months that I just really want to start talking to some of my local representatives and, state representatives and things like that and see what kind of, progress we can possibly make down here and, get other people involved in their states. And it doesn't even have to be just brain tumors. I mean, whatever cause you feel passionate about, that's always kind of my first step. Go to your representatives, get them involved, plead with them.
Yeah.
And, you never know, it might help. Um, there have been studies that have shown that the surgical removal of glioblastomas can actually stimulate any cancer cells that are there to grow up to 75% faster. So any
Wow.
kind of trauma with a glioblastoma tumor actually causes it to grow faster.
Yikes.
So
Wow.
that's why we're hoping for early intervention and early diagnosis so that we can hopefully treat it differently and not have to do surgery. They want to, some doctors are hoping to actually replace surgery with what's called targeted therapy, where it actually really targets that tumor and those cells. And that can actually, if, it's still kind of in clinical trials, but they are seeing some breakthroughs with it, and they're hoping that they can take it from a terminal condition to a more chronic condition.
So you
And
have
I
more
know
of a
even chronic
survival.
conditions not wonderful to hear, but it's better than terminal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It definitely is. Um, Another thing that they're doing through the Cancer Genome Atlas, and that's a fantastic website also. And all you have to do is Google in Cancer Genome Atlas. A lot of it kind of goes over my head, and I have a pretty solid medical background. So a lot of it's kind of above my pay grade in understanding. But they have completed their characterization of several hundred glioblastoma tumors. So, like I said, each one's kind of different. They've been able to not only learn about molecular complexity, but they've also been able to identify some of the molecular targets that could have a role in how these tumors grow and how they respond to treatment and how they react to different things. They also know that there's drugs available that can be repurposed, meaning there's a drug out there being used for XYZ condition, but we can actually repurpose it to target glioblastoma or to aid in the fact that this drug that we use to treat XYZ can cross the blood brain barrier. And if we can get that drug to attach to the chemo drug, then we have a better chance of getting that chemo medicine across the blood brain barrier and into our target area. Because that's a big problem with any type of a brain tumor is that blood brain barrier because a lot of the chemo drugs are not able to cross over that.
Hmm.
Um, there are organizations like the Brain Tumor Trials Collaborative, the BTTC, and they're actually doing this type of research right now of trying to repurpose drugs. So that's a great thing because we all know it takes forever to get medications approved by the FDA
Yeah.
here in America.
Yes.
This collaborative was actually created in 2003. It's a network of medical centers across the nation, and they have a lot of expertise. Some of the finest researchers that are around are in this collaborative, and they also they they actually desire to participate in the state of the art clinical trials. And so they're doing some really good work out there also. Um, Sean, there has been some work with stem cells. It has not been very successful, though, unfortunately. And I think it's because of the way some of these tumors can actually mutate. Treatment for GBM has basically been the same for decades, at least 4 to 5 decades. Have your surgery, do your radiation, and then do chemo and hope that you make it through all of that. And it's hard. But with all of the research now that's being done, again, I talked about the ability to mutate, and they actually will mutate through the treatment. So they can get resistant to the treatment. Another problem that we have with some of the chemo drugs is toxicity to the patients. So that's a big issue also. Um, the norm for radiation is usually anywhere between 5 and 7 weeks for 5 days a week. And
Oh
that's
wow.
really hard on patients.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
patients won't make it through, they'll give up. And at the same time, they're usually taking an oral medication, an oral chemo, like Timidor. That's probably one of the most popular ones. And then they switch over to traditional chemo after a short recoup period from the radiation. But Timidor doesn't work, but maybe about 20% of the time. So it doesn't have a great success rate at all. Now, they have been using tamoxifen lately, and I think they're seeing better success with tamoxifen, and that's the medication that's given to breast cancer patients
Hmm.
than they were seeing with the Timidor. Researchers are now also working on a vaccine. They're actually taking cells from the tumor and growing it and turning it into a vaccine that can be infused directly into the tumor.
Hmm.
They're doing
Wow.
this mainly over in Germany. In fact, Laura, the girl that just passed away on Monday, several weeks ago, she and her family had traveled over to Germany. She got accepted into one of the clinical trials. And what they had to do was put two reservoir caps underneath her skin, between her skin and her skull.
Oof.
And unfortunately, because her skin was so thinned out due to the radiation, one of the reservoirs actually ruptured, and she had to go and have it surgically removed again. And because of that, she became ineligible for the trial. And due to her condition, she wasn't eligible for any more surgery or treatment.
Oh, that's so sad.
So it is a risk. They're also working on bacteria therapy, and that works much the same way, where they're taking cells from the actual tumor and they grow them in the lab. It changes over into a bacteria, and then it's infused just like a regular chemo drug, but the bacteria knows to target just the tumor.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a show on Netflix called Lenox Hill, and it's about a hospital in New York. And the two lead neurologists, neurosurgeons, are Dr. Langer and Dr. Bookvar. And I've actually spoken with them and I've Zoomed with them. But to
Oh
actually
wow.
see them on TV
So
and
it's a
see what
reality show.
they're doing. Yes, it is. It's
Oh wow.
documentary. It's several episodes. And Lenox Hill has one of the most progressive neurosurgery units in the nation. In fact, that was a hospital that we actually considered at one point.
Yeah, Sean, that does sound like nanotechnology.
Yeah, it kind of is. It really
Yeah.
is. In fact, I kept seeing nano a lot as I was reading through things. Um, but they actually show doing the bacteria infusion on one of their patients. Unfortunately, she did not make it. She was a New York City police officer, and she also had glioblastoma. But, they're trying. They're trying to do it. So there's still a lot of research that needs to be done on these therapies, and they're all still in the clinical trial phase. Again, if any of you want more information on brain tumors, glioblastoma, I can try to help where I can. I can look things up for you. You're more than welcome to always contact me. y'all all know how to get in touch with me. You can also go on to the Glioblastoma Foundation website. They've got some great information. They make it very, very easy to understand. Or the American Brain Tumor Association is also another good one. Um, I think we listed another one about kids' tumors, didn't we, Cass?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Let's see who we
Yeah.
listed.
Yeah,
Out of
and
my
then
face. We listed curethekids.org.
Yes, Cure the Kids. And that's an excellent site also. So I would, urge you to take a look at those. And, they've got great opportunities that if you want, you know, I mean, a lot of us aren't able to make donations, but there's ways that you can volunteer. And if it's not brain tumors, if it's something else, if it's Alzheimer's, if it's, you know, diabetes, anything like that, most of these organizations have ways that you can volunteer in your own community and help out. And that's a great way to give back.
yeah. Oh, thank you, Juju.
Yeah, thanks, Juju.
I did also see a link. Well, actually, Laura, mom, she put it up on her Twitter one day. Someone had sent her a copy of a book, and it is called The Hair-Shaped Hole by John Doherty. It is available on Amazon. It's about $16, I think. It's a beautifully illustrated children's book that talks about loss of life and grieving. And it is even intended for very young children. But it makes it easier for them to understand, not quite as scary. So if you're dealing with anything like that and there are young children in the family, it might be something great to get just so that it can open up that discussion with them. Because I know it can be really scary. Laura's mom, Nicola, said that Laura has a 3-year-old cousin. And she was asking Nicola the other day, she's like, when's Laura coming back? Will she be back in 2 weeks? And
because she doesn't understand.
Yeah, she doesn't understand. And it's hard when you're trying to talk to a little one about that. So
Sean bought that book.
Oh,
wow.
you did, Sean.
What's it called again?
It's called The Rabbit or the Hair-Shaped Hole.
Hair-Shaped Hole.
And the main characters are a rabbit and a turtle.
Oh, rabbit and a turtle.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be something that would make me cry if I read it.
I know. As soon as I found it on Amazon, I ordered like 5 copies of it.
Oh, would you give one to your little 5-year-old boyfriend?
I am going to give one to Oliver, yes.
I couldn't remember his name for a second.
Oliver, my little sweet Oliver, yes,
I wanted to call him Ollie.
I mean, he's so intelligent. He understands
That's good.
what happened and everything. But he's so sweet too, because every time I see him, he comes over and sits by me and takes my hand in one of his little bitty 5-year-old hands. And with his other one, he just pats the top of my hand.
Oh,
like he knows that's what you need.
I know. And he always gives me like a fun size midnight Milky Way because he thinks that will make me happy.
Oh,
he's just the sweetest.
He's putting grown men to shame. No offense to Fishner, not talking about you, Fishner.
Yeah, I hope he remembers that as he grows up. Chocolate is a way to a woman's heart.
Yes,
exactly, exactly. I mean, he's so sweet. I'll go out to eat with his grandparents, and they'll have him with them. And he will stand there and like hold my chair. He thinks he's like pulling it out and everything for me. And he'll stand there and hold my chair, and he will not sit down
Oh my
until his
goodness.
grandmother and I are both seated.
Oh my
What a southern
goodness.
gentleman.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
he's just too cute. I just can't get enough of Oliver. He has helped me greatly lately.
Oh,
That's for sure.
that it's like he knows. He just knows
Uh-huh.
what to do.
Yeah. Any questions, comments?
I have one. How
Okay.
familiar are you with pseudo brain tumors?
Not as much. When I worked with one of the ophthalmologists that I worked with, he saw pseudo brain tumors some. And he would refer them immediately like to a neuro ophthalmologist
Mm-hmm.
because it takes a very specialized person to deal with the pseudo tumor.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it until late last year. This young woman I follow on TikTok has one, and it's just crazy that you can have one but not have one at the same time.
I
I've
know.
never
It
heard of
really is. And it's, yeah, that's why they're so hard to understand. And I think that's why they do, like, instantly, just immediately almost send them over to, like, a neuro ophthalmologist because they're the best ones to deal with it. But
right.
yeah, I mean, I've seen people come in and they have complete vision loss in one
Mhm.
or both eyes, and it's a pseudo tumor.
Yep. That's what
So it's like
happened.
it's there, but it's not there. It's like what's causing the vision loss?
Yeah. And what's even worse is the medication for it, according to her, has horrible side effects, but also put her into, I think she said liver failure or kidney failure, one of the two. And
Yeah,
I'm just like, why isn't there a better medication for this or a treatment other than she's having to like just have fluid removed in different parts of the
Oh,
body?
uh-huh.
ouch.
Yeah,
And
the medicines are really harsh,
yeah.
especially on liver and kidney because that's where those drugs are metabolized.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard on them.
Yeah.
I know
Um,
Juju asked earlier, she said, what causes them? Is the accuracy higher in certain areas of the country or is it just evenly distributed
it's
for any?
pretty even.
Okay.
And, you know, other than some that are maybe hereditary or have an underlying prior medical condition, they don't even really know what causes some of these brain tumors unless it metastasizes from another part of the body as a secondary tumor. But they don't know what causes a lot of the primary tumors.
And which
They don't
that
know why
is
some
what
get them and some don't.
GBM is more of a primary, right?
GBM is
primary.
always a primary
Always.
tumor.
That's right. You did say always.
Yeah, it's always a primary tumor. Um, I know some of you know my story. A few of you in here do, but not everyone does. And I've had a lot of people recently, especially the month of May, and I've been retweeting a lot of things from the Glioblastoma Foundation and Brain Tumor Org out of the UK. I've been retweeting a lot of their things. I've been retweeting things from Nicola and some of the other people. Charlotte's Bag is another mom on Twitter, and she lost her daughter at age 19 to
Oh, wow. That's so
glioblastoma.
young.
Yeah. Um,
I'm
and
so
I have
sorry,
people
April.
actually coming into my DMs on Twitter going, why do you care? Glioblastoma affected me personally.
Even if it didn't, it's still something that everyone should care about.
Exactly.
People are just
Yeah,
It's
too
just,
much for me.
I agree. I just kind of ignore them and go on. I'm going to do me anyway.
Mhm.
In June of 2022, I became engaged to a wonderful man who I'd basically known all of my life. His name was Luciano, the Italian.
Yeah.
The Italian
The
stallion.
Italian.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And, for several weeks, we were planning our life together, where we would live. We were, starting to think about looking for properties and things like that. And, we were just living our best life, having fun, taking walks on the beach, going and visiting different places, and just enjoying the company of each other and having great discussions. Um, his family owns a large restaurant group that's based in Dallas. So his job actually would have him travel all over, even in different parts of the world. He was the CFO for the company, for the restaurant group. Then we were in New Orleans one day. We had been stopped at a red light at an intersection. We were the second car. Our light turned green. The first car made it through. We were about halfway through the intersection, and a car from the other angle came at a high rate of speed and hit us in the side. It collapsed the door in on Luka. He had a skull or a laceration on his head. We knew that he had like a head injury. He was unconscious. There was a nurse that witnessed the whole thing. She came running over. She had already called 911 for us. She was making sure that his airways stayed open, that he had vital signs, and she did a great job at keeping me calm. The first responders got there within just a matter of minutes. They were there so fast. And they stabilized my neck with a C-collar, which is standard procedure. And they had to get me out of the car first so that they would be able to get him out. They got his neck stabilized. They got him transported onto a backboard. And we both went off to a major hospital in New Orleans to their ER to be checked out. The driver of the other vehicle was also injured and was transported to the same hospital, but in a different ambulance. And his blood alcohol did come back over the legal limit, and it was not his first offense. The hospital they took us to, I was very familiar with because my late husband, Ted, that was where he was airlifted to when he had a ruptured brain aneurysm. And that was the hospital where I said goodbye to him. So I knew if Luka had any type of a head trauma, that was where I wanted us to be. With a head injury, they pretty much immediately took him into CT scan. And the doctor came back and said, it looks like there may be some artifact on here. He said, but we're going to have the radiologist look at it. If there's anything he's concerned about, he'll call you. So we made sure they had all of our numbers to contact us. We got a call early the next morning from the radiologist who wanted another CT done with dye that afternoon. So we had another CT done. And the radiologist was in there while they were doing his CT scan. So he was able to see it right away. And he called us into his office and told us that it definitely looked like a tumor. So then we knew we had to start making some decisions. So he referred us to a neurologist within that hospital. And we saw the neurologist, who had also seen the films, said, yes, it was a tumor. So then we explained the logistics of Luka being in Dallas, me being here. We really kind of wanted to keep everything over in Texas because it was more convenient for Luka and his family if anything did come of it and further treatment was needed. We wanted him to be there. And we wanted, if there was surgery to be done, we wanted it done at MD Anderson. So I immediately, when we got home, called a doctor that I used to work for who worked a lot with neurologists. And I said, I need some names down in Houston of neurologists and neurosurgeons. Can you get them for me in a day? And he called me back in a couple hours and had some of the top people. So I immediately started calling them. I started sending them the scans of everything. And the second person that I called, we got right through to them. They spoke with me and they made us an appointment to go to Houston. So we met with the neurologist who then called in the neurosurgeon. They both agreed that it was a tumor and they scheduled for a biopsy. The biopsy had to be done at Herman in Houston because something about the scheduling at that point with MD Anderson. And Herman's a very well-known hospital anyway, so I was fine with it. So they did the biopsy. When they did the biopsy, they drill a small hole in the skull and they take out just a small part of the tumor. And it's rushed over to the pathologist. And usually it's a neuropathologist. And they look at it and they grade it. Because brain tumors are graded from 1 to a 4. 1 being on the good side, 4 being the worst. And the pathologist at that point said it was definitely a glioblastoma. It was a high 4. They were the exact grade until they removed the tumor. So then we had a few more weeks. And I mean, I'm hearing all of this and I'm just like, I didn't even know what to say. I just felt like I was just nodding, going, okay, okay, okay. And they ask you, do you have any questions? I said, I don't now, but tomorrow I will. And Luka was just like catatonic. It was like a wall had gone up. And then we got home and he got mad. He was just angry at the world. And I don't blame him.
Yeah.
And I had heard about glioblastomas. I knew they were the worst. But I really started doing my research. And I read everything I could and talked to everyone that was willing to talk to me. I started reaching out on every social media platform, connecting with all of these different organizations. I had to know. I had to know what we were facing and what our course of action would be. And that was kind of me. That was the fighter in me. What are we going to do? How are we going to fight this? We've got to fight this. What are we going to do? What's our next step after this? I was always trying to think at least 5 steps ahead all of the time. But by doing that, I was also losing time with Luka because I was so focused. So that's something I do regret. But I had to do it for him too. Sorry, I have to refer to dates because dates still get jumbled in my head on all of this.
Wasn't well, he had the surgery. Was it October 27th?
It was October 27th. Thank you.
Yeah,
How do you remember that?
because I remember like I was, was trying to think on how to help you through that time.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah.
and yeah, I'm really good at remembering dates, and I just remember. I don't know why I remember that one, but just I remember October 27th.
And you were such a huge help.
I'm so
So
glad I was.
we did the surgery on October 27th at MD Anderson in Houston. And we knew it was going to be an awake craniotomy where they open up the skull, but the patient is awake through the entire surgery.
Oh,
Yeah. But they have to be because of the area of where his was located. It was in the temporal lobe, and that controls a lot of your body. So they had to make sure, excuse me, they had to make sure that he wasn't losing speech, that he could move all of his extremities. So they kind of know how much to take off. So they took the main body of the tumor, pathologist again, right down the hallway. And the pathologist graded it at a grade 4. So it was the worst tumor you could have.
it was, and also obviously, so it's the worst of the worst, pretty much. Right?
Yeah. Yes, Sean, they do give them the twilight sleep drugs because they don't want them to move and things like that, but they want them to be able to respond appropriately. So they do twilight sleep them.
That's gotta be so weird.
Yeah. I know it's really strange. I can't even imagine. And that was his big fear, was that he was going to be awake through the whole thing and hear everything going on. And I was like, you're going to forget it. It's okay. His surgery lasted 8 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I remember.
They had us in a private little room, and it was myself and his brother Nick and Nick's wife Andy that were there. And we were in constant contact with his nieces and nephews. And we were getting reports almost hourly. They were so good about doing that, of just letting us know what step they were in at that point, how he was doing, how the doctor was doing, and if we had any questions. So, I can't commend them enough for how they treated us as the family. After the surgery, they discharged them fairly quickly. Cass, did you say something?
Oh, I just said that's just what you guys really needed, was to be up to date, and they knew that's what you guys needed. So
We did. We really did need that. And it was so comforting, honestly. They had volunteers coming by, with water and getting us food, whatever we wanted, they were bringing to us so that we could stay in that room right by phone. They actually discharged them very quickly. As soon as they can prove that they can keep something on their stomach and they can go to the bathroom, they pretty much discharged them. So Nick and Andy had arranged for a Airbnb down in Houston for us. And I stayed down there for a few days with them. And then he got the green light that he could travel back to Dallas. And so Nick was driving him back to Dallas. So we decided that was a good opportunity for me to be able to come back to my home on the Mississippi Gulf Coast and take care of a few things before I went back to Dallas again. And so I'm like constantly traveling back and forth during this whole time.
Wasn't it what, a 7-hour drive?
It's about a 9-hour drive for me.
Oh, 9 hours. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a long one. It's very long. And I know every good place to stop on the way.
Yeah.
If anyone ever needs a recommendation, I got you covered.
I remember you came back to get your car.
I did come back and get my car because I wanted to have my car with me. Now, from the first CT that we did until his biopsy, his tumor had grown 1 millimeter in just a short time. And you think, looking on a ruler, a millimeter's nothing. But for a tumor, a millimeter is a lot.
Well, that gives me a question. So could it have been because, like you said, trauma increases
It could have been trauma from the wreck.
That's what I was going to ask. Could it have been the wreck that increased it?
Yeah. Oh. And then from the first CT that we had until the surgery, he went from 3 centimeters in size to a little over 8 centimeters in size.
Wow. Oh, wow.
That's how fast they grow. And so that's tremendous growth. So we knew what we were dealing with. We knew it was GBM. We knew it was a grade 4. And now we just had to have him recuperate. Oh, and when they do surgery on these patients, their goal is to get 95% or better. And they got 80% of his. So much lower than what they wanted. We had to let him recuperate from the surgery. And the thing why we wanted him in Dallas, Nick and Andy lived there. They were able to move Luka out of his condo, move them into their home. They actually had a room off of their kitchen with an entry from the backyard, had its own private bath. It was probably, their home's over 100 years old. And it was probably like a maid's room or a nanny's room. Maybe even a mother-in-law's quarter. Because it was a nice sized room. So they put him there. Sorry, I had to get a drink.
No, you're fine.
And MD Anderson also has 2 satellite campuses in Dallas. So we knew that we could do treatment up there, which was very helpful. I'm so sorry.
No,
you're fine.
He started doing the radiation and he hated it. And I don't blame him. It's uncomfortable. It burns your scalp. It eventually thins out the skin on your whatever body part they're doing radiation on. The skin in that area is going to get thinner.
So where do they put the radiation for that?
It's like, it's done in the radiology department, like where they do the x-rays.
Where do they
but
inject
it's very
it
fine-tuned. Like they dial into the area where the tumor is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But with glioblastoma, and I don't know about other radiation treatments, if they have to do something similar or not, but with glioblastoma or any type of a brain tumor patient, they have to first create a mask for them, and it's actually molded to their face.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, it looks like a medieval torture device. And every time they go in, so every day for these 5 to 7 weeks, 5 days a week, they have to put this mask on them after they're laying down on the table. And the mask actually has an area on several sides of it where they actually bolt it down into the table.
Oh
Ooh.
no.
Oh my gosh.
So they absolutely cannot move.
Oh,
And
that is
so,
terrifying.
yes. And I can't even imagine if someone's claustrophobic, how they can even get through that. I
Mm.
don't think I could do it.
He wasn't claustrophobic, was he?
We didn't think he was, but the mask kind of makes you that way.
Well, yeah,
I would be needing
terrifying.
like Xanax or something to do
Yeah.
that.
Oh, I know. I'd have to do
Yeah.
something. I mean, knock me out, something.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I mean, I honestly don't think I could. I guess I could if I had to, but I wouldn't enjoy it at all.
Yeah, you kind of really don't think about that stuff until you have to do it.
I know. And once I saw the mask, I was like, oh my gosh. I say,
Were
and
you
they bolt
actually
it
able to
down.
see it? Like were you able to watch it or no?
No,
Oh, okay. Like I know you
no,
couldn't be in the room, but I didn't know if there was like a window you can be and watch it. I don't know
no,
if I would want to watch it though.
no.
No.
They actually brought it out and showed it to me one time because I wanted to see it. And I was like, oh, hell no. Not putting that on me. You're not bolting me down to a table where I cannot move.
No.
No way.
I couldn't handle that. So we did his treatments and things were going well until the early part of December. And after one of his treatments, he began having seizures. And he was still in the radiology department. So, of course, they had to get him unbolted really quickly so that, he couldn't get hurt. And they started administering anticonvulsant medication to him. It wasn't working. He was still seizing. They moved him to ICU and they heavily sedated him. They did get the seizure under control. And while he was still sedated, they sent him down for another scan. And we found out that he had a new tumor. And this one was at the base of his brain. And then we also found out where the original tumor was, there was another one growing there also. So now he had 2 tumors in his brain.
Oh.
So once he got all stabilized, discharged, Nick, Andy, and I had already been talking, and we knew we were going to have another hard discussion with him as to what he wanted, and that we would go with whatever he said. So when he came home, we all sat down and we were talking, and he said he couldn't do it anymore. He said, I cannot do it. And we respected that. That takes a lot to say that you cannot do it.
Right.
Because he is a fighter. He always fights harder than anyone I've ever known. Sorry.
That is no, you're fine. That is
all the time you need. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Autistic Show.
So we discussed it with his physicians and told them that he wanted to discontinue treatments. And they honestly agreed with us. And so we moved to palliative care, which is comfort only. I started calling for home health and hospice care. He did have to go back in and have a PICC line inserted. So we were able to go and do that. We got the PICC line inserted because we knew that, there were times we were going to have to give him medications or a PICC line. And that's like an IV line that's inserted in the upper part of the arm, usually in the upper part of the arm. And they teach the family how to give the meds and how to flush it and everything. Also, it's a good access to a vein if they ever need to draw blood samples for any reason.
Yeah.
So we had home health started.
And this was around, you said early December?
Yes. Yeah. But we knew then that, radiation wasn't working. The oral chemo wasn't working. It was resistant to everything. So
he was just in pain.
Yeah.
I could understand why he would want to go that route because
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't be able to handle that kind of pain. No way.
I know. And, through all of the time that he was going through radiation, I'm talking to the doctors up at Lenox Hill trying to get him into a clinical trial. I'm talking to doctors in the UK. I didn't call the doctors in Germany because I was afraid I couldn't talk to them. I didn't think about a translator, but I was afraid of that. I mean, we were trying to get him into any clinical trials that we could. But once the doctors found out that he had new growth, he no longer became a candidate for clinical trial. So we had to accept that also. We worked to make him as comfortable as we could. Nick would get him out every morning and walk him in the backyard a couple of laps to keep up his mobility. We would work with him on his speech. We just, we'd get him talking just so that he would talk. And it didn't matter if he'd say 2 sentences and fall asleep. He'd wake up and pick up the conversation right where he left off. It was actually kind of funny, and I'd start laughing a lot.
The tumor in the brainstem is going to start affecting a lot of, what's the word I want to use, like basic functions, right?
Yes, it does. Especially, if it starts getting into like pressing on your respiratory centers and things like that.
Okay.
You were a nurse at one point, weren't you?
I was not a nurse. I was actually a cardiopulmonary technologist.
Okay, that's what I always keep wanting, because you have your ER stories, and I keep thinking of nurse. So you kind of knew how to do all that, or did you have to learn yourself on how to administer the medication?
I mean, I wanted them to show me, to refresh me, because it's been so many years since I've done hands-on patient care. I mean, I do medical billing now, but it's also very fortunate that I work for a company that does home health and hospice care. So they knew what we were going through.
They really worked well with you as far
They
as
worked very well with
the
me.
time they gave you off.
Yeah, they gave me pretty much as much time off as I wanted. They got me approved for a laptop so that when I did feel like working, I could. There were days I might work for an hour or two and just sit with him for 3 or 4 hours and work another few hours.
Distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they didn't put any pressure on me at all to pump out the volume or anything.
That's really good.
Yeah. And, I honestly think it's because of the company I work for. They're just very caring and compassionate people anyway. And they're in that business. They know what patients' families are going through.
Yeah.
And we had some of the best hospice nurses. At first, they'd only need to be there maybe an hour to 3 hours to do things. And later on, they were there around the clock.
As it got further into like hospice, more of a
Yeah.
hospice.
Uh-huh.
I'm like trying to figure out how like to word it. I'm not sure how to word it. Yeah, because it goes for the in healthcare and then to hospice. I know my great grandma had to do
Right.
that.
Yeah. And our hospice nurses were amazing. And if you've never dealt with a family member or a friend or a loved one where you've had to deal with a hospice situation, hospice is not only there for the patient, they're there for the family. And our hospice nurses would always check in with us and make sure that we were okay.
It takes a one heck of a person to become like to be there for the family and the patient, knowing like what it's going through. Like it's sad. Like and
It is. I could not
they're
do
able
it.
to do it. Yeah, they're able
I could
to.
not.
If
I
there's some way I would be able to do something like that, I'll just be like.
yeah,
But
I just
the videos I've seen of hospice nurses have been amazing as far as like
yeah,
what they do for
they
the patient and the family.
yeah, they do have a high burnout rate.
Oh, I
And I
bet.
can understand why. It's hard losing patients all the time.
Yeah. Well,
It's very hard.
that's their work is having to see that.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I got out of patient care. I just I felt like every day I was watching a patient die. And it wears on you. It gets to you. Especially if it's patients that you've seen for years. And, every one of their family members and their dogs and their cats and their birds and everything about
Yeah.
them. It's very hard. It's like losing your own family.
And you had Luke with you too, right?
I did have Luke, my dog. I have a mini dachshund named Luke. I don't know what I was thinking when I named him Luke because I got him before Luka and I got together. And Luke he was like, "Well, you named him that because you must have instinctively known he one day would be my son." He would call him he'd call him Junior. I was like, "Do not call that dog Junior, please. Please don't call him Junior." But, I checked with the nurse and I was like, "Is it okay if I put the dog up here with him? Because he absolutely is crazy about the dog." And she's
And the
like, "Oh,
dog
yeah, the dog's part of the family."
and the dog was crazy about him.
And the dog was crazy about him. And to this day, still misses him. Still sleeps on his side of the bed, on his pillow. So he was crazy about him. And I think that's why he's so clingy right now.
Yeah.
Because he's
Well, I
just
think
really
he
missing him.
knows. Yeah, and he knows you need it too. He knows
He
what mommy
does.
needs.
Yeah,
He knows what mama needs.
he does. Um, as time went on, we started noticing more symptoms. His mobility was getting weaker. He was having more problems communicating, which would make him mad. And that's not unusual either if they can't get their thoughts across. Um, while he still was able to, one thing that he did was, and Andy and I had to do it for him. We would actually sit in the room with him and he would dictate notes to us, to family members, or to close friends. And he told us, he said, I want every one of them handwritten. He said, I want them personal. He said, and I will sign every one of them. And, like I said, there were times he'd be talking and just fall asleep, and he'd wake up and start talking again.
So it's like you had to make sure you're right there so you can get right back
I
to
know.
writing.
I was like, wait, what was that again? I was watching Netflix. What was that? So we did that for days. And he did one for even his youngest niece, who was still a baby at that time, an infant. But she was named after him. And we call her Lucy, but her name is Luciana.
Oh, that's so
And his name was
beautiful.
Luciano. So, and she's the cutest little thing. She definitely has the Italian looks, but she's extremely fair skinned, but she has like the jet black hair and the really, really dark eyes. And she's beautiful. And she's so much fun. And he never had children of his own. So he really doted on his nieces and nephews, all of them. And he was the funkle. He was the fun uncle. And every time one of his, older nieces, the first generation nieces and nephews, had a baby, he had a shirt made saying, I'm the funkle. And he would wear it to the hospital to go see the new baby. And I was like, when are you going to get rid of that shirt? Like, never. Never.
No.
He's like,
No,
I'll
not
wear
as
it
long as they're
forever.
popping out babies.
Yeah. And I actually have the shirt now. And, haven't worn it yet, but sometimes it's tucked underneath the pillow.
Yeah.
So as I said, he started getting weaker, and we were noticing more changes in him. The Friday, we did have an early Christmas because we weren't sure if he was going to make it to Christmas. So we did have an early Christmas. Plus, he wanted me to be able to spend Christmas with my daughter and my granddaughters. And that was another thing. I was so conflicted and so torn between needing to be with Luka, needing to be with my daughter, because my daughter's also in the process of going through a rather ugly divorce right now. And so I felt like I needed to be two places. And they're both like, no, you need to be there. They were both telling me I needed to be with the other person. But he really wanted me to be at my daughter's for Christmas. So I spent Christmas with her and the girls. And my plan was to work that next week between Christmas and New Year's. And I was going to fly up after I got off work Friday and spend New Year's with him. That Friday morning, my cell phone rang. I'd been at work maybe an hour. And I did work remotely from home, so I did have that luxury. But my cell phone rang, and it was Nick. And he said, Sam's on his way. We need you. And I just said, okay, and hung up. I already had my bag packed. So all I had to do was grab the laptop, notify my boss, and get all the dog stuff gathered up. As I was starting to gather up all of Luke's stuff, Sam, who would drive me to the airport, had a key to my home, because if I was gone up there, he would check on my home for me. And he comes walking in. He says, "Are you packed?" And I said, "Yes." And you have to understand Sam. He is a huge guy, but he's the biggest teddy bear you would ever want to meet. And just the sweetest person. And that's probably why little Oliver is so sweet, because he's got a grandfather like Sam. And I told him, all I have to do is gather up Luke's stuff and I'm done. And he put his hands on my shoulder and I looked up at him and I saw tears in his eyes. And all he said was, "Let's get you to Dallas." So he put me on the plane, and one of the nephews, Giovanni, he came and picked me up and drove me immediately to the house. And the hospice nurse was there. He had become unresponsive, and his vital signs were starting to go down. And all I could do was sit with him and just talk to him. We did make arrangements for all of the nieces and nephews that were old enough. We informed them that, because we had a house full of people and we had children sleeping everywhere, adults sleeping everywhere. It was crazy. But it was wonderful having everyone around.
Yeah.
We told them if they wanted to, we would allow them privacy with him to go and talk to him. And most of them did. A few couldn't, but most of them did. And, we would clear out the room and allow them their private time with him. So that was on Friday and early Saturday morning. And then it basically was just Nick and Andy and I kind of taking shifts on and off so that we could each get some rest, even though I don't think any of us were sleeping, but we could at least get some rest and try to get something to eat. I remember the hospice nurse at one point came up to me and she was like, "Girl, you need a shower." So I did. I took a few minutes and I went and showered. I did feel better, and I thanked her for that. On Sunday during the night, early hours of Monday, I was sitting there with him, holding his hand, and I told him that he didn't need to fight anymore, that he could rest. And that was the hardest thing for me to tell him. And that Sunday, we had also had the priest come in and give last rites, because we knew it was time for that. And being Italian, they're a big Catholic family, so we needed to honor all of that for them. And then Nick, while the priest was there, went ahead and made arrangements for the memorial mass, with a date set to be later when we knew. So, New Year's Day, shortly after 9 a.m., is when we lost Luka.
Yeah, well, that's when I think because I was checking on you throughout the night, and I remember
Yeah,
that's
you
when you
were.
told me, like, because I knew something was going on because you hadn't updated in a while, and then when you
Right.
told me, I cried. Now admit it, I cried for it. I was like, I don't know him. I don't like. I cried. So
Yeah, I think you actually contacted me like the second day, like the next day.
yeah, because I didn't want to. Wanted to give you time to, like, as far as, because I
Yeah.
knew you told me it wasn't going to be much longer. So
Yeah, because I think I just messaged you real quick and said, I'm leaving for Dallas. He's unresponsive.
yeah, and
And then
but
I went radio silent basically.
yeah, I
But
think I did check on you on like Saturday night,
I think you did too.
and you were saying he's um still unresponsive,
Yeah.
and that was the
And his
last time
breathing had gotten a little more labored at that point.
yeah.
Yeah. Like I couldn't even get a hand squeeze out of him or anything at that point. I kept asking him to squeeze my hand and there was nothing there. And we knew that the vital signs were not as good. His breathing had started slowing and his heart rate had started going down. So we knew it was just a matter of time. But I think you messaged me that the day after, and I told you.
Yeah.
And just right after that, Claire messaged me, and I told her.
Yeah, because I was talking with her, and I asked if she heard from you, and she said no. She hadn't
Yeah,
heard from you, and that she was doing the same thing as I was, like wanting to give you some space.
I know. And y'all were
It's just funny.
so great about that.
It was just funny how we just decided to message you right not far after each other.
I know. It was so strange, but very welcomed also. But that's why I fight, and that's why I advocate, is for Luka, and for Charlotte, and for Laura, and for everyone else out there that has had any type of a brain tumor.
Mm-hmm.
And I will continue to advocate, and I will continue to fight. Because there needs to be more. And,
Mm-hmm.
In August, y'all are going to see me advocating all over Twitter for brain aneurysm awareness because that's that month. And then in November, it's Alzheimer's awareness. So I've got all these different things that I'm going to be advocating for. So,
well, and that's because you did say, because you did lose your husband to the aneurysm.
Yeah,
Right?
I lost my husband to brain aneurysm.
I need to find you on Twitter.
That was, I don't want, that would be 10 years, huh?
Yeah, it's 10 years this year.
Yeah. I remember you telling me like August?
Yeah, August 13th.
Yeah. Oh, that's the day before my birthday. But I don't celebrate birthdays anyway.
I can't believe you just said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Because his aneurysm actually ruptured on, and it's weird that I can remember his dates and I can't remember Luka's, but I couldn't remember Ted's at first either.
Yeah,
Like,
right now you're still in the fog. It's still new.
I am still in the fog.
Yeah, it's still new.
Yeah, it is. But
like
yeah,
you could probably scroll up on our long conversation to get the date
and find it. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually did have some of it in a calendar on my phone, but then I changed phones. And it didn't transfer over.
Oh, why doesn't it transfer over?
I don't know.
Are you
I don't know if it's because
Apple?
I went from Android to an iPhone.
Oh, yeah. It wouldn't be
But, now that I've got everything written down again, I'm just going to put it into like a Google Doc for myself.
Yeah.
That way I'll have it.
Yeah, April lost her mom to brain tumor in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, the technology wasn't nearly what it is now, April.
Yeah.
And April, it's a hard watch, but I'm glad that I did watch it. And I only recently watched it on Netflix, Lenox Hill, because you can see how far they've come. And you see doctors that honestly love their patients. And you see them cry over their patients.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like being a doctor, like that people, like you have to, like people don't understand how hard it is to be like fighting or helping people like survive. And
Yeah.
these people do it, and they need to
Yeah.
they need to be praised
It's
more.
very hard. And the series doesn't just focus on the neurosurgeons in the neurology department. They also focus on the obstetrics department. So you're seeing cute little babies brought into the world. So that's always happy. And they also focus on the ER. And, it's a hospital in metropolitan New York. So it's a busy hospital.
Oh, I bet it is. Yes. New
Yeah.
York.
But that was actually one of the places that we were considering for surgery and treatment was Lenox Hill. And I just put off watching it. And then when Cass and I were talking about this, I was like, I really need to go watch Lenox Hill. And
I know I still need to watch it.
Yeah, I'm very glad that I did. I'm glad that I waited to watch it.
It'd be nice to see the doctors that you said you spoke with.
It was so weird seeing them, but
because it made it more like, oh wow, it made actually put them as a person in front of you.
It did,
instead of
because
just
I'd
someone you
only
talk
seen them
to.
through Zoom.
Yeah.
But when you see them crying over patients, you realize how affected they are and how compassionate and the drive they have to help their patients. It's so commendable. We think of doctors that not having feelings, but these doctors, ooh, do they got some emotions?
Well, they can't really show it to you, like, because, like, some people might want to see a doctor crying in front of them, but most people won't want their doctor, like, having emotions in front of them. So, of course, they're going to do it without you seeing it. They got to be strong to give you the news you need to hear. And then, like, that's the thing, is like people don't understand how hard doctors, nurses, first responders, even firefighters, police officers, it's a lot of work mentally.
It is. And it does get to you emotionally. I mean, when you're in like a situation, like, because I worked ER a lot as a respiratory therapist, and when you're in a critical situation, you become like almost robotic, and you know what to do, and your body just kind of takes over. You just know. And it's afterwards that it hits you. And that's when the flood of emotions come out.
Yeah.
There's I actually am trained in critical incident stress management is what they call it. And the training that I went through was for disaster people who went through disasters, for those people. But we also made it available to the first responders, because first responders, and like you said, people in like ER situations, you're dealing with trauma firsthand, even though you're not the victim. You're dealing with trauma for your situation day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. And nobody thinks to have them. I mean, it should be mandatory for first responders and, people in the ER to kind of have counseling.
Oh, yeah. I
Just
mean,
because
even years after leaving hands-on patient care, I have what I call flashback dreams where I am stuck in a hospital and I keep hearing cardiac monitors and IV pumps and all these alarms going off. And I can't find them and I can't find another person. And it's almost terrifying because you feel like you're so
helpless.
lost.
Yeah. Just helpless. Yeah. I don't know why it's not emphasized and should be made more available and more normalized, I guess, for lack of a better word.
It really should.
Yeah.
And maybe that's another cause I can take up.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Harley,
let's
you
go.
booted me.
Yeeted. Yeet.
Because your thing popped up. You're trying to sign in, and it's asking if it's me on the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I didn't answer it fast enough, and it booted me off of. No, you're fine. I was like, I was trying to hurry up and get in to try to tell you what number is it? Do I have to press?
Sorry.
Oh,
no,
and
sorry. Go ahead.
If anyone wants to watch a really, really uplifting video, Cass watched it the other day. I
put it
shared
in.
it with her.
I did put it in. I did share it to them. I don't know if it ever worked. Curly said that it was saying it wasn't available when she tried it. But it worked for me, so I don't know if I did something wrong.
Yeah. But it's on a channel called Robbie's Dream, and it's RAB as in Victor, I apostrophe S as in Sierra Dream. And Robbie is a little boy who was diagnosed with a benign brain tumor, but his was at the base of his brain. And so he has long-lasting effects from it. You can see it in his face. You can see it in his mobility. But Robbie is the cutest little boy. Wasn't he adorable, Cass?
Yes, he's so cute. I'm going to try
He's so
to...
cute. And he is singing
work
along with some other celebrities, A Million Dreams from The Greatest Showman. And that's the title. I mean, Robbie's Dream, that channel, has one video, and it's A Million Dreams. And it's under 6 minutes.
Oh, geez, Juju, geez. Look, give me a chance.
Juju is on it.
Juju is on it. She is on it. So if you want to see something that it's like, yeah, you may cry, but they're going to be more happy tears.
Yeah. Oh,
because
his sister at the end is so adorable.
Oh my gosh, that part with his sister, I just lose it on that. It's so cute. And when he walks in on the party, and everyone comes and surrounds him, it's adorable. But it's well worth going and seeking that out and watching it. It kind of makes you a little happier.
Yeah. So it's like you see, there's a lot of people out there fighting for the same cause.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. You see that. And, Robbie even says himself, that's like, he doesn't actually say it, but he writes it out that he wants a world without brain tumors. And yes, Robbie, we all want that. We want a world without any type of tumors or cancers anywhere. We want them all gone.
Yeah.
But that's all I've got, and that's my story. You all know it now. You know why I've been out there, and I've been very vocal about it.
We thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
to share that. And you did wonderful.
I wasn't sure I was going to be able to.
Yeah, it was hard. I'm sure it was hard.
It was, yeah. There's always parts that are harder to talk about, and I have to keep telling myself it's not even 6 months.
It hasn't. No,
So
And there's no timeline for grief.
no, there
there's
isn't.
not. There is not. There's no time limit. There's
No,
really not.
no.
And I just kind of keep going back to that quote from Nicola um, Nadal that I said at the very beginning, that hope is the hardest thing to kill.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, that is, I love that quote because
it is.
really,
I do
you know,
too. I'm going to
if
start using it more.
if we don't have hope in any situation you
What do
could
we
apply
have?
it to, you have nothing
Yeah.
You have
else.
What do
nothing.
we have?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, it was like, even you think back, I think back now and I think even those final moments, I still was like, just squeeze my hand.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
show me you're still with me.
The hope.
And, that's that hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you? I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but did you mention how Laura did agree to donate her brain for
Oh,
research?
no, I did not. Yeah,
That's
Laura, again, this young woman, she had glioblastoma for 4.5 years.
so
She was
long.
diagnosed shortly after she started at the university, wherever she went in the UK, in her first year. She graduated with her degree. She was
Wow.
determined. She
Yeah.
had a bucket list of things. And um, anyone that's on Twitter, you can find her mom pretty easily. Um, and her dad's on there also. His name's Mark Natal. And I think their youngest daughter, Gracie, has her own Twitter account now also. But she was determined she was going to graduate. The doctors gave her a year to live when she was first diagnosed. And she was like, nope, I have things I need to do.
And she did them, right?
And she
She
did.
graduated.
What?
She graduated. You said, right?
She did graduate. When she had her setback, she was actually in the process of applying for her master's program. And she planned on getting her master's also.
Oh.
But her mom, I don't know how her mom is doing it, honestly. She is the strongest person and the most gracious person I have ever come across. Because I could not do it. But she's been doing interviews. Of course, they've gotten to know so many of the people on different news programs and radio programs that have talked to Laura through the years. And her mom said the other day in an interview that Laura was such a giving person. She gave blood as often as she could. She did anything she could for people. She always wanted to give back. She wanted to give back to community. She wanted to give back to others. She wanted to give back for people with brain tumors, do whatever she could. And her mother said that one of Laura's last wishes was to have her brain donated to science for research. And her mom said that they're actually, the science world, I don't know where it's going to be in the UK, what organization's getting it. They are receiving her brain tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
And, as soon as I saw that, I retweeted it and I was like, her legacy will live on.
That's gotta be like such a great like decision to do because I'm like to donate.
Yeah. 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 Her mom was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through it, but I'll do it. So, very, very admirable young lady, very admirable family.
Yeah.
You may have said this and I've already forgotten, but did you, if you know, what the if there is, if they track this, the average, I forget what they call it, but lifespan, for lack of a better word, from date of diagnosis for these brain tumors?
Um, for for something like glioblastoma,
Yeah,
the median survival rate is 8 months.
8 months. Okay.
Uh-huh. For something like a meningioma, which is usually benign, but because of where it is, it's in the meninges of the brain, it can still be just as fatal. The lifespan, can be several years. They can have a good life
Okay.
with that. It also depends on where the tumor is located. Of course, the closer to the back of the brain, the shorter the lifespan.
Okay.
Oh wow, that's yeah, that's good to know. Like I didn't think depending on where
Yeah.
it's at.
And, it also depends on, how large the tumor is. I mean, I can remember shortly after I had my son, we had a family friend and he had been vomiting for like a week and finally went to the doctor. And this was back before I think they even had MRIs. And all they did was like a CT scan and they saw a tumor. And I don't even think they biopsied it. I think they just sent him off to a surgeon. The surgeon opened up his head and
Oh,
closed him right up because his tumor was the size of a grapefruit.
oh, so pretty much it's non-operable
Yeah.
or
Yeah, it was considered inoperable.
inoperable. Thank you.
Yeah. And that was basically what they told us with Luka's tumors when they came back was that they were just inoperable. They wouldn't have even touched that one where it was at the base of the brain.
Like, yeah, was it by this brainstem?
It's right by like, basically your control centers. It's what
Oh, okay.
controls your breathing and your heart rate. And it was right by the spinal cord. In fact, I think it
Oh
actually
wow.
kind of wrapped the spinal cord a little bit.
Ooh.
And that's probably why he lost mobility so fast. But yeah, average for most other malignant tumors, like an astrocytoma or something like that, can be, you know, again, based on when it's found and where it is, anywhere from like a year on. Some people can live with them and have productive lives even after surgery for
Yeah.
many years. Um, in some of the reading I was doing, one of the girls that played one of the children in Sound of Music, she was diagnosed with a brain tumor as an adult, and it didn't even say what type she had. And she passed away within a month.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So she may have had it for a while.
I,
Yeah.
I had mentioned this before you started with Luca's story, but do you know the statistic have you come across a statistic on how many of these brain tumors are found incidentally? Because it's, I'm, it
I would
sounds like
think,
they. Go ahead.
yeah, I
I
think
just.
it would be
It sounds
pretty
like a
high.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would think it would be pretty high. I honestly do. I mean, and honestly, we were almost grateful that we had that car wreck because we would not have found it
Yeah.
until it was much, much too late. We would have been at end of life.
So you
And
wouldn't have been able to
we
have
were
much
very
time to do
grateful.
what you, yeah.
Luka was so grateful that he went through their corporate attorneys, got the police report, and they made contact through the court system and through the young man's, he was using court appointed attorneys, went through them, and Luca wrote a beautiful letter to the courts telling them that that because of the wreck, as awful it was at the time and how devastating it was at the time, it actually gave him more time on this earth. And he offered through the restaurant group that if the courts would work with him and if the young man was agreeable, that the restaurant group would pay for the young man to go to rehab,
Wow.
completely pay for him.
He's
Wow.
amazing.
He had
That's
to
amazing.
finish rehab. He had to complete it. He had to get into almost like an anonymous group,
Yeah.
like a 12-step or something like
Some
that.
kind of.
But
Yeah.
that's
He
like
had
that's
to go to
giving
meetings.
him a second. That gives that other kid, like I'm not sure how old he was, but that's giving him a chance to change his life.
Yeah.
And that's just
Probably
so
giving
Oh
him a
yeah,
longer
and he was like
time on this earth.
probably
yeah.
early to mid 20s.
Oh man.
And because
He was
the
so
restaurant group, the restaurant group has a couple of restaurants in New Orleans. They said if he finished the rehab, they would find a place for him in one of the restaurants.
young. Oh wow.
And part of his
Like to
salary would go to
work.
restitution to
Oh
work.
wow.
And he'd be started out at the bottom, bussing tables, washing pots and pans and dishes. And I mean, come on, they're Italian. They have Italian restaurants. There's lots of baked on cheese. Those aren't easy dishes to wash. Come on now. Lots
But
of red
still,
sauce
it's like
everywhere.
it's an opportunity, like for this
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
Did you know if he
And
ever took
Andy
it?
checks in on him.
Okay.
And I've
Oh,
checked
go
in
ahead.
on him a few times. In fact, I went one day over there when I found out he was working on a weekend. I called and I said, "Hey, is he there today? I need to come see him." And they said, "Yes." I drove over there and I had a random drug test in my hand. I said, "Come on, let's do it." And he passed.
Wow.
So
good.
we do random drug tests on him. And the courts do also. So that's good. So he is keeping himself clean.
This is like
He's
I
extremely
see a movie
grateful.
here.
What?
I know,
happened?
right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, a movie. You said you feel like a
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
He's
he
extremely grateful and just so full of gratitude anytime we speak with him. And he has actually
learned.
worked his way up to a prep line cook.
No more cheese scrubbing.
Oh wow, and it has
No more
wow,
cheese
and
scrubbing.
it has it been that long in the has he been there for a while already, or it's only been a few months, right?
He's been there he's been at the restaurant maybe 3 months.
That's a
3-4
good though,
months, something
like
like that.
to move up that quick.
Yeah, I mean,
That shows he's determined.
yeah, and the restaurant manager and everyone, they adore him, they love him. And they're like, he's the hardest worker. So,
Wow. Yeah, exactly,
yeah,
Juju. I'm so glad he took the opportunity. So, and
I am too.
it's like you said, as terrible as it was, he learned his. It seems like he learned his lesson as far as
I
he's
think he
not going to do
did,
it
and
again.
I think he knew that that was going to be probably one of his last opportunities to change his life.
Yeah.
And when it was put to him that because the person he hit has a terminal illness now, and because it was found because of the wreck, he wants to give something back to you because you've given him more time on the earth, and he wants to be able to help you turn your life around.
And that just shows how great of a person Luka is, because to
Yes.
do that had to,
Yeah.
because he was really, you could tell he was really that grateful because of it. Like he said in his message or his note, that no, even though it was a really terrible thing that happened, it turned out to also be a good thing in a way.
It did. And it did give us more time because it's like the doctor said, if we had not found it, he might have lived another 1 to 3 months. That was it. That was all they were giving us.
And you wouldn't have had your time to cope with it.
No, we wouldn't have had that. And, it could have been one of those things where, I would walk in one morning and he would have been gone. And I would have had
And you
no,
wouldn't know, no reason, you
I
wouldn't know
wouldn't
why.
know. Yeah.
Well,
And
I'm
that would
pretty
have
sure you guys would have
devastated.
done you would have found out after the fact.
Right. Because they would have had to do an autopsy. But yeah, or he would have become so ill that we would have had to, take him to the hospital and they could have found out then. But then we probably would have been looking at a situation where it was inoperable from the get
Oh
go.
yeah. And he was able to pass on his own terms. Like as far
Yes.
as he was home with his family.
He was home with family,
So much
surrounded
family
by
too.
all of us.
Oh yes, you had like how many people you were saying were in there. It's so wonderful. Like that's how most Italian families are, so big and a lot of
Yeah.
people.
And we had like his favorite music playing and just about every other song. Like when he first got diagnosed, I said, we need to select you some fight songs that you can listen to every day. They're going to pump you up and get you going. And he picked Rise Up by Andrea Day, which is a beautiful song.
This is a
And
beautiful
that's
song.
kind of one of my fight songs also. And then I played a song for him and he was like, yeah, I want that to be my fight song. And it's Seventh Nation Army by White Stripes.
Yeah, that's just like Ray said. Hey, this could be a movie, a really good
Oh,
one,
yeah.
like a sad and good one, very tearjerker.
I know. Probably more of a TLC movie or a Lifetime
Yeah.
movie, not really a
Oh,
Hallmark movie.
yeah.
Yeah. Not unless somebody ends up getting married at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah, not unless, the prep cook can find somebody to get married to. Then maybe
Oh,
it's
that's
more
true.
Hallmark. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I could write something for them. Maybe I could have him fall in love with like the head chef or something.
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
Oh, you guys know your Hallmark movies.
right?
They're all the same.
They are.
They
They
are.
are.
I
They
don't.
definitely are.
But I still watch them.
I would watch
Yes.
them with my mom too. Like I would watch them. It's just I don't have Hallmark to watch them. I just got the wannabe Netflix one, like the wannabe Hallmark on Netflix.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah,
okay.
it's
They're
like
the same.
Yeah.
yeah, just thank you
Just
so
different
much,
cast of
though.
characters.
Thank you so much, though,
But
for
yeah.
sharing your story. It took a lot to share and greatly appreciate it. Sorry, I didn't really help much as far as because you did all the talking on the research. I didn't have to use any of my notes. Sorry.
That's
But
okay.
I just,
You can send it to me. You know I love research.
but yeah, thank you. There's just so much information, and like you said, it's such a good
I'm
fight.
so appreciative of you ladies letting me do this and letting me speak out about such a difficult subject that a lot of people don't want to listen to. And
Yeah,
for everyone in the chat, thank you so much.
thank you. Yeah,
I've been reading comments. I haven't been responding a lot, but I've been reading them. And I definitely feel the support and the love. And you will all now understand why sometimes I may just say hi in chat and I'm quiet the rest of the night. It's because I may be having a moment, or I may be absent from a few chats because
well,
I'm
you
not
were
having just a
gone.
moment. I'm having a week or a month.
Yeah, you were gone like a good while after, because
I
you
was gone.
didn't come on, like
I was
you didn't
gone.
come on panel anymore for
No.
Effery or Mayhem because
Yeah, this
you're.
is the first panel I've been back on, I think.
No, it was with you and Claire did the Stouch.
Oh, that's right. We did Stouch.
That was
That's
the
true.
first time you were back, and that was what, just like a few weeks ago, a
Yeah.
month ago.
Yeah.
So it took you a while to, like, you were still popping up in chats here and there, but it took you.
It did.
Took you a while, but
and yeah, but it's still kind of hard. There's just, yeah, and I never know what's going to do it. I mean, I can be sitting at work working on insurance claims, and all of a sudden the next thing I know, I'm in a puddle for no reason. It just hits.
yeah. And
But thank y'all so much.
yeah,
Thank you.
I'm so glad you were
Anytime.
able to do this with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, thank you to the chat for
Yes.
sitting through it. As this
Yes.
very, like we said, it was going to be a very tough and serious one. But next week we'll have trivia on Criminal
Minds. Yes.
Oh, Criminal Minds.
Wheels up at 7 p.m. Central. Carly told me what that means. I was like, what does that even mean?
Bring on Shamar.
Yes.
And Matthew Gray Goobler.
Say Matthew too.
Yes.
That sexy nerd, I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I won't watch the reboot. If they do that, I'm like, if he's not on there, him and well, keep forgetting his name. He's on the SWAT now. I don't want to watch it.
Oh, Shamar.
Yeah, Shamar. Yeah, Shamar. He's gorgeous. My mom loves him.
That is one gorgeous man.
Yeah, he's the only reason why
I
she
do
started
too.
watching SWAT. But yeah, so any other questions in the chat before we wrap it up? We kind of, I know what is it? Is it 9:21 for you also? Always?
She's
Yes.
in my time.
I'm on Central Time. Yes.
Oh, that's what I figured. So yeah, you two are on Central. And then Carly's on Mountain. Poor Carly, people forget about her time zone.
Yeah, I always do.
No, she's in Mountain Time.
Yeah.
And then we got Mousy representing Eastern.
Yeah.
Juju too, right?
Juju, no, I think Juju Central.
Oh, it's
Juju
okay.
Central.
I'm all thinking. I know Sean is central. Sean and Fishner are central too.
Oh, you're gonna make me sing that song, Fish Nerd. Oh, don't do this to me. Oh, I'm gonna have to do the whole song, but I'm not gonna sing it. Okay. I can't do it without.
Good question, Fishner. No, Mousy, it's not a good question. I'm just kidding.
I don't know the capital of Bolivia either.
La Paz, Bolivia. Okay.
Yeah, I would
wait,
not
I'm
have
like
known
trying
that.
to think, like, what song were you talking about?
There's a whole song for the capitals of South and Central America. A whole song.
Did you learn it in school?
Yes.
Oh, never mind. I'm just gonna stop right there. So,
I am like geographically challenged.
I love you.
yeah, I would say not Grace. Grace, that's her. Like, she loves it. Me,
Yeah.
I wish I could wish I could know.
Yeah, I'm just
Google.
geographically challenged.
I totally forgot about the state song. I don't even remember it.
The state song?
What Sean said, it's like the state song.
I don't know the state songs.
I don't either.
I have like a vague. It's like it's back in my mind, like sitting there, like I know it, and I just don't remember it. But I don't know. It says, oh wait, that was his question. That was Fishner's question. But anyone else have any questions?
Oh, that was his question. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I asked if anyone has any questions before we let you. I'm pretty sure you two ladies gotta work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I know I gotta work tomorrow. But it's Friday. Is anyone? Well, you guys aren't even getting a 3-day weekend either, huh?
No.
I am.
Oh, you are. So you took Monday off.
Well, Monday is a holiday for us.
I thought it was OT though. I thought you were gonna do.
No, I backed out of OT.
Oh, okay. Never
Yeah.
mind. But yeah, alphabet order 5th grade. Alphabetical order 5th grade. Is that one? Anyway. Yeah, so I guess if we don't have any more questions, I think Carly probably got to get the kids to bed unless the hubby did it.
I'm going to throw out there though. This is a talk about it Thursday instead of Tuesday. If you guys have topics that you want to talk about, or even if you want to come up and be on panel and talk about them, let us know and we'll consider them. We don't want to be too controversial on this channel because we don't want to be drama. But yeah, just hit us up, let us know.
Yes, let us know. And if you have something that you're very like always grateful, over here is really it's a good cause as far as because it is go great for me, but also it's something she's very
April, you're not.
And inspirational or very oh my goodness, what is that? What am I trying to say? I forgot. I lost my train of thought. I was trying to say, like, if it's something like this, something that if you don't mind, if you wanted to be personal, like how Always Grateful went personal, like told us her story, you can also do that as well. And so, like, this is her new passion as far as fighting for this. And so, if you have something like that, let us know. But thank you though for coming. Greatly appreciate you all for being here.
Yes,
It was a very serious one, and glad you guys stayed. And anything else any of you ladies want to add?
No, you said it all.
No.
Let's see if
you did enough talking. I would say you did enough talking for the night, Kim.
I know.
You guys ready?
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you.
Okay, here we go.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.